Always a delay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Water Cooler. I'm Exchange Goddess, and I've got two of my friends here. And today we're going to talk about password management because apparently it's hot on everyone's mind right now with the whole LastPass. Should we call that issue, John, or changes?
I would just say change in policy.
Yeah. Thoughts on that one?
So I get their mentality of they want to charge. They don't want to give away stuff for free. They have a good market. I will admit I am a LastPass user and have been for a while.
How do you feel about that?
I've been a paying customer for a while. So to me, I understand it. I have had my identity stolen multiple times. I've had credit cards compromised and used in multiple locations and have gone through that whole process of filling out police reports and calling the credit card companies and dealing with that. So to me, spending a few bucks a year is worth it to have a password manager that I can share in and out with and everything. My grandfather passed away last year, and I'll have to find it. I don't think I have it around. But he had a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with Post-it notes attached to it and chicken scratch all over it that was his password manager. So I think as an industry, I think we need to be better at embracing and educating our users about the use of password managers. And I think the fact that there is such a huge amount of choice in the industry, there's so many options available, some free, some paid, open source, whatever. There's so many tools available. For people not to be using one, I think is a huge mistake. I think that's my feeling on the whole matter all up. What do you think?
So I also pay for LastPass. I pay for the family plan, and so yeah, I'm I guess not immediately super affected. I guess I'll have to pay for my. I don't know if I'm paying for. I don't know what I'm paying. I know I give them money for a family plan. I don't know if I pay for my wife, and because I guess the thing you have to pay for now is to have it both the mobile and the laptop. So I guess I'll have to pay for my wife. My kid obviously has the free account, but I share a lot of her passwords. I a lot of the schools, the Google Classroom passwords and stuff. So I think as far as what they're doing, that's kind of a fair thing. I think it'll be. I have noticed recently. If it wasn't for the sharing between family members, I probably would just go with Edge password management or Google password management now that syncs across devices. So I think that's the thing. But yeah, I think it's a thing people should take more seriously. We should also move to non-passwords and Authenticator apps and whatever. I mean, I have my phone, so I'm a consultant, and my last client there, I had my login with my company and then the consultant's company and all that. My company actually uses LastPass corporate, which was actually kind of nice because I could share, there were one or two things, I would keep the VNC password for my kid's laptop there because I wouldn't have to move my head. I was like Tony Stark in the first Avengers. How does he do that? I don't have to look at my kid's screen. I just put the VNC there so I can look at them. Even though the kid's right there when she's home and I have to tell her to get off YouTube and listen to her. Teacher.
Agreed. Yeah, it's the functionality that has been enabled. So I guess we can talk about the Authenticator app and passwordless and yeah, I mean, passwordless is the way to go if you can. So I couldn't tell you what the password to my Microsoft account is, my personal one. I couldn't tell you what the password to my corporate Microsoft account is, and just I work for Microsoft, so that disclaimer out of the way. Because
here.
I use Hello for Business to sign in to my work computer using my fingerprint or my face with my camera. And every time my password expires, I have to go do a password reset before I change my password because I don't remember it. I signed into my Google account today using a FIDO token. So I have a couple of FIDO tokens here. But it's all the other websites that you have to remember. How do I sign into my electric bill and my Cabletown Evil Empire account or Steam, all the other different platforms. How do I sign into all of those? And that's where those password managers come into play. Just as a note, I went in and looked at what was in Edge and in my Authenticator app as far as passwords, and wow, I need to do some account hygiene updates, delete some old stuff, and get rid of some passwords that hadn't been synced or updated. And I think that's
Same here.
what it needs to do.
I'm the same way. I need to do some cleanup as well. And I think that's the problem. Like I love password managers, but at the same time, we can password sprawl, right?
Yep.
We forget that. Oh wow. That's an old one.
Yep.
Yeah, it kind of makes us lazy in a way, but it keeps us on our toes too, or it keeps us more secure.
Yeah.
Because honestly, even if I didn't have a password manager, I wouldn't remember my passwords anyway. Like I'm the person that's always like forgot password, and I have to like get an email or whatever code and reset my password constantly.
You were one of the people who wrote it on the bottom of your keyboard?
No. I did not write it on my keyboard. I would just go, I'll just reset it. But with password management, I don't have to reset it. It's just I'm just stuck with
Yep.
a bunch of passwords.
And I think the key is you should pick something and use that thing consistently. So if you're going to use a password manager, make sure you configure that in all the places.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to use it on mobile, make sure you set it up in mobile. Make sure you set it up on your desktop. Make sure you set it up in all the places so that you do get in that good habit of using the tool that you're either paying for or configuring. You're spending some level of effort in doing that configuration and setting up and putting those passwords in there. So you need to make sure that you use it. Otherwise, it's no good to anybody.
Yeah. I think sometimes also the hard thing is getting like if you have LastPass family, getting everyone on board with it. I know like my wife has a very low frustration like tolerance. So if I have like if I own the password and I have to change, I have to remember like reshare it, or she'll just get frustrated, and then like, or if the kid changes their password or whatever, because I get very upset that like if the kid's password is written for Google Classroom, it's written on their notebook, and I try to change it, and then decided not to get an award to teacher. But I mean, you got to deal with reality when you have multiple, when it's not just you.
Yeah, and finding a way to make sure everybody understands the value of it. Selling the value proposition to family members.
Yes.
So we're not just working with our coworkers. We're not. It's not just, hey, you have to use this thing. It's a family member, and they can choose to use it or not. But I think the first time that my identity was stolen was what sold me, and then afterwards, just I had an account that wasn't a password manager, and now everything goes in there. But the companies all make it really easy to. I mean, I think everybody has some sort of a import your passwords. If you have them in XYZ tool or just in a spreadsheet or something somewhere. So there's no reason not to use them. And it's really up to, I think, personal preference. What tool do you like as an individual? And then pick it, use it, try it out. If you don't like it, try something else out, and then configure it and use it. Right?
I think we're all just kind of like,
Do the thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what though? We need to get our parents, the boomers,
Yeah.
to really do it. Because how many times, do they write it down on their sticky note or keyboard?
Yep.
Now, my dad doesn't. He just has me do it, and then I forget. And then we just reset his password. But then he has multiple people managing accounts for him, right? So he'll have me like manage stuff, but then he has my cousin's husband, who's also in IT, do some stuff for him. And it's like, and he resets the password. I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, because I hate passwords. So I just don't remember them. So, we really need to get the older generation, our parents and our grandparents to utilize, because they're the ones I feel sometimes are more vulnerable to attacks and phishing and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
When the phone call comes and it's Microsoft telling them their computer is infected with a virus.
My dad fell for that.
Oh yeah,
my grandfather almost fell for it, and then was like, "My grandson works at Microsoft." Click.
Yeah, nope, yeah. My uncle fell for it too. And he goes, "I almost gave my credit card." I'm like, "Oh my God!" Like, no, we don't call you. It's
Yes.
they're scamming, and because his machine was like, there was something wrong with it. It wasn't right.
Oh yeah.
So that I had to let him know that we don't call, and just hang up on them if you do get a call. Especially if they're asking for passwords and things like that. No,
You never ask for passwords whenever you call support for any place. They never ask for your password. Legitimate companies will never, ever, 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 ever do that.
No, they don't. So I have our scrolling banner because I like playing with technology. aka.ms/manage passwords. So if you go to that link there, it'll take you to the Microsoft Authenticator page, and it just talks about Authenticator. Not to say we're marketing it, but it's an alternative to LastPass, especially for those that are crying about it. There's so many different products out there, so that's just one of them, and I thought I'd share that out with everyone.
And it's new. It's something that people may not be used to. It's new in the Authenticator app as of just recently. I think it made a few days officially out there. So when you open up your Authenticator app,
we're getting a little demo.
Yeah, you get a little get started, and you can import passwords from your browser, like if you're on your phone, or from Edge as well. If you're on your desktop, you can set up syncing between the Authenticator app and Edge, and you can pull in passwords to Edge or the Auth app from Chrome if you're using Chrome as well, or Firefox, your browser of choice. But this works directly with the Edge browser to manage your passwords. It's a pretty cool setup. When I went through and looked at it, it had sucked in all the accounts that I used to use in Edge, and I had to go and clean out a bunch of them that were old from previous jobs and other past lives. So quite a cool setup. I know the PMs who worked on it, and they spent quite a bit of time and effort building this, and they're very excited about the prospects of it. So if you have feedback, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to send that through to the product group as well.
Where can they reach you at, John?
So you can reach me on.
Now I sound like a host. Where can they reach
you? You can reach me on Twitter. I'm Buckeye Guy JFlow on Twitter and Instagram. On GitHub, I'm Microsoft Guy JFlow. I'm always available to have a conversation or chat about anything technology related. Right now, I'm a docs writer, and I write for Azure Active Directory, conditional access, identity protection, and devices. But I used to have the passwordless story that used to be in my area. I've since passed that off to another docs writer, but I've done just about anything and everything on the infrastructure side of the house in IT.
Oh, we have those awkward silences now. Sorry, I've got a cold. I think it's a cold. No, it's not COVID again. It could be, but
let's hope not again.
Gosh, if I get it again, I just John, you're just going to have to come over here and just like beat me. No, I've still been pretty much isolating.
Yeah, no, I've been isolated too.
So
the long haul effects are just awful. So I really don't want to go through what I went through in December. Yeah, but yeah, today started with my nose. So who knows, right? Anything is possible nowadays.
Could be allergies. Could be.
Yeah, let's just say that. Maybe it's too many lobsters.
Maybe it's too many lobsters. I was about to ask, how many lobsters did you have the other day now?
I had 3 lobsters, but that's not even my record, right? That was just an afternoon snack, because me and you have eaten seafood together before.
Yes, you have.
It's an experience, isn't it?
For
eating with me is an experience, I'll tell you.
Yes. For those of you who have never eaten with Exchange Goddess, think Tasmanian devil, spinning, spiraling, things going everywhere, and at the end, there's nothing left. And be careful if you try to reach for something in the middle of the table, because you may come back with a stomach.
I'm not that bad.
Mine.
I'm not. I don't like food wasted. So if you're not eating that, I will ask if you're eating it. Did I ask the last time, or did I just take it? I don't remember.
If you're not eating fast enough, you won't get seconds.
There's starving children in Laos. Okay, that's what I grew. My mom would say that all the time. Yeah, there's starving children in Laos, and you have all this food. You need to eat. So I just learned to eat all my food.
I grew up. There's 7 of us grandkids on my mom's side of the family that we were all real close growing up, and we would all go to my aunt's house when the 2 cousins from Michigan would be in town. And if you did not get downstairs when dinner was announced, you may not get dinner. And if you didn't pile it on your plate to start with, you may not get another second chance for food. So, food was not wasted in our family, and we knew to hurry up and get what we wanted when we had a chance.
So, I think we've all worked on enterprise.
Yep.
How do you guys feel about password management in the enterprise? For your, for the average business user, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is where.
Thoughts
that's
on
probably
that.
Adjusted.
Yeah, that's probably where you need something like LastPass. I mean, this new I use Authenticator, but I didn't know it had the passwords. But I like I said, using it for the 2-factor and all that. But I think, yeah, sharing the passwords, because there are just some things. I mean, we like to live, we like to live in a world where we don't have to share passwords. But that just doesn't always happen, especially like in more of a smaller business or just with not the most enterprise compliant apps where you can't do the level of delegation. There's some shared accounts. So I think that's where it's super, super important. And I mean, LastPass does have the feature where it doesn't actually let you see the password, only enters it, which I'm sure you could work around by just right-clicking, inspecting in HTML and all that. But, it's kind of helpful. So I think that's exactly like an area where I think, I'm glad my consulting firm, they adopted LastPass internally for us, because we have to go to different clients and we have to memorize, their passwords, and I have like the test and two Active Directory domains at a client and all that, and if I'm on small projects, I could be on three three small projects, or whatever, as opposed to just one client where I'm bill that 40 hours a week bill that. So yeah, that's definitely a big thing. I think the enterprise should adopt it more, and hopefully seeing that password sharing feature that kind of be a thing that you kind of have to do, because that happens sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think the key too is understanding what identities are out there that are shared, documenting them thoroughly, and figuring out if you still really need them. There are features and functionalities out there that will allow you to get rid of those shared passwords. And when people have access to those passwords, you need to make sure that you are doing proper hygiene on those accounts as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When someone no longer needs access, you need to do a password change. Just because it's a password out there that's really long and complicated doesn't mean that just because it is in the password manager doesn't mean that that's the only place that it is. So you need to make sure that you are rotating those passwords still, rotating those shared secrets, performing proper hygiene, because otherwise you're in the same position that you're in without it. So there's still a lot of security controls that need to be put in place on accounts like that where you have a shared credential. You need to be doing monitoring, alerting, all the stuff that we tell people to do all the time. You still need to do all that. And making sure that you have proper policies in place and things like that are critical. Absolutely critical. And making sure that people don't have more privileges than they're supposed to have.
Don't even get me started on that. Don't get me started on that.
But those accounts aren't just, oh, well, we just gave it global admin, or we just gave it domain admin or enterprise admin because we couldn't figure out what permissions it needed.
It's so much easier. Just give everybody access to everything, right? Because then they can get their jobs done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No.
Yep, they can get their jobs done, and you can create a resume generating event.
But so many organizations do that. It's easier. I think sometimes it's done because of, one, they think it's easier, but two, it's usually upper management. It's usually like those executive level, like the VIPs, right? Because they don't want to have to deal with being blocked and whatnot. Like they just want stuff to work. So
and that's one of those situations where I've been in that situation before.
Oh, same here. And I'm like, nope, sorry, I gotta be a bitch about this, but you're gonna thank me later, okay?
I've gone to the point where I just go, you know what? Okay, well, we'll do that, but here you're going to have to sign off on this risk assessment, and give them the documented risk assessment and go, okay, so by doing this is all the stuff that you have signed off and said you accept. And they usually look at it and go, oh no, I don't want that. Okay, well then here's what we'll give you. And It's never no, it's yes, but here's the risk. We want to just be in that instinct of immediately saying no to things that we think could be risky, but sometimes the answer might have to be yes. If it is yes, then we have to make sure that we document that risk appropriately and make sure that it gets signed off on and make sure that it gets reviewed. That's the other key, is sign off and review, because they may need it today, but tomorrow they may not.
But nobody thinks about tomorrow. Everybody thinks about today.
Yeah. Oh, we'll go back and fix it later. How many times have we heard that?
I've said it. And how often I would actually, if I did not have a PM on my projects to tell me to go back and clean it up, I would, it'd be a while until I went back to clean it up. But thank God for those, those project managers, because they're like, oh, you've got a task here. Did you get your cleanup task? Oh, thank you.
I can honestly say that I've been there, done that. And like, how many times have we, in previous lives, had domain admin credentials and we just used our credentials because, hey, I don't have time to go figure out what it needs.
Here's even better. So, in a former life, for Exchange, right? But Exchange guys, for Exchange, we had separate accounts, right? You have your administrator account, and then you have your regular account. And there are certain things that, in order to manage like public folders and whatnot, there's certain things that you can do within PowerShell, the Exchange Management Shell, and the Exchange Console, and all that good stuff. And then there's some things that you actually have to do within Outlook that was more client side. And so I came aboard and I had discovered that the previous lead had wanted to simplify management of public folders. So he created a security group and put all the regular accounts of the Exchange admins into the security group and gave that security group permissions, full administrative rights, permissions to all the public folders.
I'm going to go cry.
Yeah. Oh, I cried. And I cried for a while. I cried, I screamed, I did some kicking, I did some punching. Yeah. So I rectified that. I fixed the situation, because that's a situation. And I discovered it by accident, actually, because I saw one of my admins working on a ticket, and he was working on the public folders ticket, and he was in Outlook. And I'm like, oh, you're not signed in to your, oh no, this is how we fit. And
really?
he was just like kind of doing stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So I walked away, went back to my desk, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try to do some stuff in public folders. And I was able to do it. And then did some more poking around. And yeah, so.
What's the security group here? What's this do?
And this is like, I think it was like day 2. So I hadn't gone through my full assessment of the environment yet. I'm still, I'm still onboarding. Okay. I'm still trying to get access into all my environment.
You're new and you think everything's shiny and great. I remember that period, the honeymoon period.
Yeah, so I fixed the situation, but yeah, it because it was easier, right? It was so much easier just to just give everybody rights to it, and then they have to log in and out and use their administrator account and blah blah blah. And I'm like, but that's not very secure. Our regular accounts should not have access like that to any type of database, any type of mailbox. That should be an administrator account only. It's a privilege that you have to give yourself and then take out. It's need based. When you're done with the ticket, you close it, you remove your access, boom, right? There you go. And then next ticket, if you need access, you add your, it's an extra, 5-10 minutes. But you know what? In those, in that period of giving your whole group access, anything is possible. We've heard these stories of, phishing attacks, keyloggers and stuff being, downloaded and stuff via email. Comes in through, of course.
I mean, Ignite's coming up. The security sessions with Paula and the Wolf and what's his name? All the security guys that you'd go and you'd sit in the front row and you'd be on Wi-Fi, and sure enough, they're spoofing the Wi-Fi, collecting your packets, and they're like, "Oh, let's see, who can we own in this session right now?" And just, I mean, all the simple security things that we take for granted that they just bypass with that credential that's now stored on that person's machine. And privileged access is a huge part of this too. I mean, passwords are one thing, but the privileged access story and only using those admin credentials on hardened boxes, that's a whole other part of this too.
Anthem.
What?
Remember the Anthem security breach several years ago with the Blue Cross provider?
Mm-hmm.
That was a privileged account.
Yeah.
I mean, it's public knowledge now. But yeah, that was a privileged account that got compromised via keylogger, via an email.
Yeah. No, I remember at a previous job that I worked at, we had the pen testers come in, and they'd come in every year, and they'd for sure figure out one of our accounts. They'd find one of our domain admins or enterprise admins. They'd find us, and they'd own our accounts, because there'd be one of us who would just be not paying attention, and we'd sign in on somebody's laptop to give them credentials on their laptop because we had admin rights everywhere.
Yep.
And we'd get owned. And thankfully it was just the pen testers who were finding us, and we'd take care of it and remediate the machine and whatever. But that happens in the wild way too often. And that's part of this story as well, is picking strong methods to sign in with. And like, I can sign in to my laptop with a FIDO key, and my password is never there. There's never a credential that can be stolen. It's unphishable. I'm a big proponent of those unphishable credentials. Hello for business is great because that password is never there, and your secret is protected by the TPM on your box. It's something that a lot more enterprises I wish would start to implement. I know it would have saved me a couple of times in the past.
Justin, you've been quiet.
Justin, you talk too much.
I talk too much. I don't know. I like I said, I'm a developer, so I don't see the admin side of stuff, but I like that.
Wait. You're a developer.
Yes.
Do you develop with security in mind?
Yes, I absolutely do. Yes, I absolutely do. I'm usually that. Like, I remember the day when Azure App registration had the ability to be owned by somebody, because I made them all for the project I was working on, and they all disappeared from my default view because, like, one Friday you pushed out that ownership, and the ownership like wasn't owned by the guy that created them before there was ownership. So yes, I do take security. I do take security seriously. I do.
Good.
And can I ask you another question? Have you ever hard-coded the password?
Have I ever hard-coded the password? I tried very hard.
Now, come on. We're all friends. Judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna judge you though.
I don't think I ever hard coded a password in the source code. I mean, I've tried, I tried very hard to make sure, like, if the password is in the config file, it doesn't get committed to source control. 10 years ago, you kind of the dev password, got in the web config, back in the day for SQL Server if you weren't using, SSI, if you weren't using password. I mean, I did what I could. I did what I was empowered to do. Sometimes, you're just following orders. I did try to do, passwordless, Kerberos auth and SQL Server and all that, on the web app.
Clear text.
No, I tried. I was always a big proponent of encryption. I mean, I do give a talk at SQL Saturdays on always encrypted SQL
Good.
Server. So,
Good.
yeah, no, I try.
Thank you.
We have to ask these questions with developers, right? Because there's so many applications that I think forget to develop with security in mind.
Well, it's all in the
it's an
INF
afterthought.
file, right? So just secure the INF file, right?
I think
Justin's silent. He's like, I'm not saying anything.
no, I think part of it, sometimes it becomes, sometimes some security things are just buffer overflows or whatever. It's not, a thing you did on purpose. It was like, an oversight. And sometimes there's like, kind of pressure. And sometimes there's just, you want to do the right thing, and you're not allowed to for whatever reason. Sometimes you're not using a domain, Kerberos, authentication to SQL or whatever, or you're just not using Postgres or MySQL, and you have to store a password somewhere. And I mean, now we have Key Vault, so we can work around that. Sometimes it's not a thing you can do. So yeah, I do think I try better than most. But yeah, sometimes it what if someone else on your team doesn't care? What if what if it's not a what if it's just a situation where you kind of have no choice because your hands are tied. You're running a PHP app and don't have Key Vault or something similar to do that. So the password has to get stored even if it has to get stored somewhere. But luckily we're always kind of moving that fence post with it. Windows has the built-in the local secrets you can use in Visual Studio. You can access that API anywhere. There are ways to make it so a Docker, if you're talking to a Docker container, the password doesn't have to be in the environment variable. It can be an encrypted secret somewhere. There's the secure string in, if I'm in .NET, I use a secure string. If I can't do that in PHP or Python, I can't use the PowerShell secure string with .NET secure string. So that's, you got to use what you have depending on where you are.
Yeah, I think the key really is, and tell me if I'm wrong, Justin, is document what you're doing, and make sure that if you can't do one of those things, you can't do something secure, that you've got it documented and someone has signed off on that and given a approval, an acceptable use statement of that, and that they know that it's there. Because that's the other problem is if they don't know that it's there, then how do they manage that going forward?
Yeah, no, that is a good idea. I mean, I probably never had to. Obviously, usually if I'm in a place where I can get an acceptable use sign off, their socks. So there's probably a Microsoft shop. So I'm probably using Key Vault and all that. But sometimes you're dealing with a smaller client where you don't have that to do. But yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, that is a good thing. Get the sign off and make it the auditor's problem. Make them face the auditors, not you.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that we don't talk about enough, and we don't develop those relationships. I know the security team in several jobs before where I used to work, we kind of saw them coming and we've run the other way.
Security.
Yeah. We're doing less a job. We're doing less as good of a job making those relationships, I feel like, recently within organizations. Like, we have to make sure that we're all on the same page when security is involved. It's hard, and it's not something that we like to do, is like have those conversations and be social. I know I never loved trying to like have that sort of relationship and be friendly with the security team, because I always felt like they wanted me to do something, and I'm like, I have all this other stuff to do. But like you brought up, the breach at Anthem, or insert other company name here.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want your company to be in the news as a headline, and it to be you as an infrastructure person or a developer or whatever, it be your fault at the end of the day that your company's in the headlines. So we have to take security seriously from end to end and be willing to have those hard conversations, those difficult conversations about things that are going on, and be truthful about, hey, we have a password encode here for this thing, and this is why, and this is the blast radius of that application. And if it's not critical and it can't hurt anything else, okay, maybe that's acceptable. But hey, we have it in this other application, and this is what it could impact. Oh, no, we don't want it there. No, we need to do the right thing, or here we're going to get sign off from XYZ person up the chain that they know that this is what could happen. Because I know I never want my name to be associated with a breach.
Oh my gosh, I don't think anybody does.
No.
Yeah.
Because I know how small of a community IT is. Living in the Central Ohio area in a previous life, and possibly here in the future, we knew everybody at every company. Like, I knew somebody who worked for the same company, or had a buddy who worked there, or whatever. Like, we could find out anything we needed to know about how you interacted so easily. And if someone was like, oh yeah, they were the reason that we got breached, like, nope, see ya.
No, I mean, it's, I don't blame them. You know, like you said, it's like this black eye.
Yeah. What else? We've gotten really deep. Started from passwords to now.
I know. It's just like we're just kind of like, woo!
Auditing, security,
well, Justin, you're just like, you just
developer experience.
I know. Yes.
You're just
Sorry.
like chatterbox. No, we love you. We love you anyway. Yeah. Oh, my
lobsters.
I'm either allergic to passwords or you guys right now, because I just think
move passwordless. Then maybe your allergies will go away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just hope it's allergies and not anything else. So how's the weather?
The weather.
No.
No, I do have some snow outside. Yes, but no, it's old snow.
You have the same amount of snow I have, because you're my neighbor. Neighbor state in Jersey.
No, we are. Yeah, so we had some. When was it? Yeah, we had some pretty bad snow. So there was the kids went full remote. Yeah, and it was pretty. Yeah, they went full remote for 2 days. It took a while to dig us out. But yeah, I mean, it's not Texas snow.
Tomorrow we're supposed to get snow, but John got snow because he's in the Seattle area. He's not in Texas though.
Oh
yeah.
You just that you can't salt your roads. Like
they got like trucks for the whole city.
Yeah.
We can deal with
accurate.
They are able to deal with it, but people out here don't know how to drive. So I just stay off the roads until the snow gets cleared. The French Toast Mafia exists here as well.
Okay, yeah.
Milk, bread, and eggs get bought up as soon as they mention snow's coming. But no, I went for a drive on Monday, I think it was. Went up to Snoqualmie Falls, about 20 minutes away from where I live, and got the picturesque snowfall and waterfall picture.
Oh, I saw that. That's
Walked around one of
beautiful.
the state parks over the weekend and got some pictures of the snow there. Just had some fun. It's pretty.
Yeah, I enjoyed the snow this year. I definitely did, and looking forward to hopefully the next 2 days will be normal snow and not we have the infrastructure to deal with the Texas does not, unfortunately. But yeah, I had a big problem. I had all the snow on my roof, and like I was the only one with like snow, like I had the most snow on my roof of my block, and I just kept having to like every morning wake up and throw more salt on my porch because there was ice because it melted, and I'm like, it's not that I was late.
Have you tried kitty litter or something that's more organic? We have Ruby. Sure, you guys have seen my little dog.
Yeah. What? Who's Ruby?
Apparently, like the salt and stuff actually hurts their paws. They can burn them and stuff. So I've been looking at like pet safe salt, but I try not to salt if I can get away with it. I'm trying to like think of other alternatives other than kitty litter because I've seen people talk about throw kitty litter out there. Does cereal work?
Kitty litter, sand, anything to give you a little bit of traction on top of the ice. The key is don't walk on the snow before you shovel it. Because once you compact it onto the concrete, you're never going to get it off.
Well, about 10 years ago, I actually slipped on ice. I was taking my son. We were at a doctor's appointment, and it had just started snowing while we were inside during our visit, right? Snowing and icing and everything. It was actually ice, I believe. And when we came out, the steps were all iced up, and it was just him. It was just us three in the whole building. I came out, and I slipped on the top step, and the back of my head landed on the concrete.
Oof.
Yeah, it was not a fun. I'd say 2 weeks afterwards because I had a concussion and I was still seeing. I don't say blurred vision, but I couldn't watch TV or anything. It's just very bizarre, and till this day I still get headaches, like these weird bizarre headaches. And now with COVID, it's even worse. And I'm like, oh my god, can I reset? Can I just get a new like head or something?
You have to be careful when it comes to ice and snow and stuff.
I feel bad for Texas. Like they're
not prepared.
Yeah, they're not prepared. They don't. Yeah, when everything's a frost, they're gonna like have major like property damage.
Well, their building codes aren't like they don't have they don't use insulation like we do, right?
I saw a video this morning. Somebody's fish tank froze.
I can believe it.
And just a little bit of water was left at the bottom, and the fish was at the bottom, like in like a castle in the bottom of the tank.
Poor fish.
And they warmed up the water, and the water all melted, and the fish was just like happy at the bottom. But the first video at the very beginning, it's just like ice this thick on top of the thing. It's like, I don't know how you have a house that gets that cold.
Well, think of it this way, right? Like I've seen houses go up in Texas and in the South. I used to live in Alabama. And these homes would like go up, and they're not insulated like ours. The building codes aren't the same.
No.
So, when you have extreme weathers like this, I can totally see them freezing. And the weather they're getting is something typical that we get up here in the Northeast, right, Justin? I mean,
it's worse than what we would consider it bad.
It's what we get, and it's like and they don't have insulation in their homes. It's some may have it, but most of them probably don't because it's probably not in their building codes. Yeah. And then their infrastructure, their roads, they're just not equipped. And then you talk about the power grid and their power plants. They didn't weatherize. It's not the wind turbines, okay? If you don't weatherize the windmills, they're going to freeze.
I lived in Atlanta during the great ice storm of, what was it, like 7 years ago, 8 years
Yes,
ago?
I remember that one.
And that was maybe a quarter inch to maybe an eighth to a quarter inch of ice. And it shut the whole city down. It took me like 13 hours to drive home. Because I was like, oh, I just moved to Atlanta and I was like, I needed furniture. I decided to go to IKEA in downtown. And
Really?
they were closed. And I turned around and it took me like 8.5 hours at that point to turn around and go the other way back to go home.
Yeah.
So yeah, people in the South where it's not normal to have that kind of weather, I get it, but I still don't, because having grown up in Ohio and dealt with blizzards and snow and stuff.
Like I'm with you. Like I get it. Like I feel really bad, but at the same time, like I walked through 3 feet of snow to the gas station so I can get a donut. Okay, I remember doing that in high school. So
Uphill both ways.
yeah, it was uphill. Okay. Well, hi, Rubes. I remember doing that. Like the storm of 93.
Yep.
And then 96.
Yep. 96 was bad.
96, that was 3 feet of snow.
Yeah. My grandfather was at a business conference and my grandmother was hard of hearing. And my grandmother wouldn't answer the phone. So my mom and I had to drive in the blizzard to their house to try and make sure that she was okay. I remember that.
Well, it looks like we're out of time, guys. But this was a great chat. Password management. I think the consensus is you just need to do it, but it comes down to what product and
pick one, try it out, but do it. Do something.
Ruby, say hi.
Hey, Ruby.
Hi, Ruby.
Yeah, she was like banging on the door because she's like, Mom, I need to go outside. Oh, I know. Say hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Thanks, guys. It's a great chat. Have a great rest of the week. Stay warm, Justin. We got our snow coming tomorrow.
Yes.
And until the next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.